All right. I just had to make sure there were no dangle clacks happening there. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to TBN. Yeah, we've gone through a lot of changes on this stream. And what we do nowadays is we sort of unpack some news, as it relates to the world of vaping, tobacco control, tobacco harm reduction, smoking, cigarettes, nicotine, science, policy, and the such as. I am your libertarian, freedom-loving host, GrimmGreen, joined today, where you love her. It's our far-left fact-checker, Danielle Jones. Hi, Danielle Jones.
Socialism for all, guys.
Socialism everywhere. And today we're also joined, politically, I'm not sure, but it's Alex Clark.
Not Jones.
CASAA. That's right. Alex Clark is here from CASAA. Alex Clark, for the last, since Danielle's been on this stream, every time your name comes up, which it comes up pretty frequently, like a frequent amount of times, I always call you Alex Jones.
And I have to correct him every time.
It literally just comes out. I say it like it's your real name. I'm like, Alex Jones, Alex Jones, Alex Jones. Danielle, always. Clark.
Clark.
Not trying to be associated with InfoWars? No? All right.
No, not really my thing.
Not today, anyway. Well, we got Alex Clark here today, and really what we were going to do was spend, we got some news and some stuff to talk about here at the top of the program, but we're going to spend the majority of this time just really talking about, discussing, taking any questions, answering as much as possible, anything and all about this upcoming vape mail ban. It's going to be an interesting month and a half. We're halfway through March, and we have basically till the end of April till, I guess, all of the cards finally fall into place, because there's a lot of cards kind of up in the air still right now, as I understand it. But we're going to get to that when we get there. But there was a few things I wanted to talk about first, you guys. In fact, there were a couple super chats that came in. Unfortunately, who is this first one from? Kosher. Yo Kosher. He says, yo everyone. Happy Thursday. Happy Tuesday. Nope. We're off to a rough start already. Happy Tuesday, Nick. Let's.
Oh, man.
Oh, is that you, Alex? Bush.
That was me. Sorry, I fixed it.
Bush League. Bush League.
Those darn pop-ups.
I know. Anyway, here, let's actually read Kosher Coil's super chat. Yo, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Nick, thanks for the killer shout out. Much appreciated. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And remember, no matter what anyone tells you, keep on vaping. You're damn right, Kosher Coils, and you are. Tanker Monkey, Freedom Grimm. I'm worried I haven't bought enough to last. I live in the middle of nowhere. Well, some of the advice we're going to be giving you today is get some. Stock up. Get some nicotine. Get some e-liquid. Do everything you can to prepare to not smoke cigarettes. Christian, that's very gracious of you. Keep on vaping. You helped me switch a little over 10 years ago. Thanks for all you do for the community and how you continue to help. Oh, bro, thank you. Christian, that's very cool. 10 years smoke-free. I love the crap out of that. And yeah, this is just my job now. This is all I know how to do. This is all I know how to do at this point, and I'm okay with that. So I'm happy being right here. Truckin' Reviews. Are the 4 online vape companies that claim to have a legit carrier to replace the ones they ban, or are they pulling our leg? That is a great question that we will definitely get to when we start talking about the vape mail ban, but there are some legit carriers in place from what I understand. Some actual, not illegal methods of transportation from what I understand. Right. Actual stuff. But the first thing I wanted to mention, in fact, here, Danielle, check this out. we've been talking about doing segments. We're bringing up the idea of segments every now and then. Yes. Well, I did a little bumper for some newsy bits. You want to see my newsy bits bumper that I threw together today?
Actually.
It's pretty spectacular. Yeah.
That is some amazing,
it's high quality
borderline porno music, borderline.
I felt. I'm
really into it.
It felt edgy.
Making advocacy sexy.
Exactly. Yeah. See, that's what we're trying to do. Yeah. So it's the newsy things and the such as. There's a CASAA podcast that Alex Clark is on. He's a part of this podcast. We try to promote your podcast every week, Alex. What do you guys talk about? Like, give us the elevator pitch for the CASAA podcast. Really sell me on this.
So, yeah, it's a little bit of the week in review and looking forward to potential legislative issues that are popping up in the week to come. Also reviewing, I think, some of the top stories that we've highlighted in our newsletter. Well, not newsletter, our sort of weekly heads up post that comes out on Fridays pretty consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, little news and review, looking forward, in-depth discussion.
And it's fun. And it's you and Logan exhales.
Yeah. We're trying to cut down on the non-vaping related banter. So
yeah, it's tough to do. I get it. It's tough.
If you guys want to hear a rousing debate about daylight savings time, you should definitely check out this last week's
I want to hear that. I definitely want to hear that. It's funny because, yeah, that's great. I love going down rabbit holes of just random subjects like that. I recorded an interview with Chris, Chris Big Knowledge. He was in the You Don't Know Nicotine movie. And, I went into it with these certain expectations, and then we ended up talking about chocolate for like 40 minutes. It was pretty incredible. He has some serious views on chocolate that I think are actually going to be pretty great once they get out there. But yeah, there's a CASAA podcast. Definitely go check it out. I always want to throw rights for vapors out there. If you're up there in the UK, I've been talking to Mike.
You mean Canada?
Yeah, Canada. What did I say?
UK. I wish the UK was up there.
I know.
I mean, no offense to Canada, but
look, we love Canada. Okay, we love our top hat. We like being Canada's pants. That's fine. So if you're up there in Canada, rights for vapors. I've been talking to Mike Smiderman. We all remember Mike Smiderman. We've seen him in the chats before. He is full on he's like, I'm sorry, I haven't been in the chats. I haven't been on social media. It's just nose to the ground, powering through trying to stop bad vape legislation. And he was vouching for rights for vapors as well. And I think it's a good group. Why not use every tool, in our arsenal? There is still, circling back around to CASAA, now that we have two CASAA people here, maybe they want to rant about this, but there is still an open comment period for USPS. They're actively seeking feedback, Alex, and this is a good thing. And we should all be doing this, right?
Yeah, actually, partially a plug. I sat down and did a webinar last week with Greg Conley, American Vaping Association, Paul Blair, formerly Americans for Tax Reform, and now working with Turning Point Brands. And the other person on the call, I had never met before, so I don't have his name committed to memory. But it is a very good, informative webinar. And so you can check that out on the AVA website. We give kind of a walkthrough of what our call to action is all about and some tips about what the consumer interest is in this. And just to spoiler alert, once again, your stories matter. And this is not necessarily about being persuasive right now, expecting, the outcome that we all want. Which is to be able to get vape mail.
Right.
But it's more about laying the foundation for coming back and fixing this potentially in, a few years.
Mm-hmm. And so what's the best case scenario? If we submit a lot of comments, is there a chance USPS is going to craft their rules differently than the legislation states? Or, what's the best case scenario we're hoping from USPS? That some things will have exemptions, possibly? I don't know.
I think, one of the things that really stuck out to me is the language. USPS is dealing with this direction from Congress. It sort of narrowly defines, it broadly defines what a vapor product is, which will affect people who vape CBD, for example. We may actually see a national legalization of cannabis before we see nicotine products being able to ship through the USPS again. And so if that were to happen, USPS would not be shipping vaporizers and such used for cannabis.
Wow.
And this is really because, the root of the problem here is that Congress doesn't understand the products or the consumers.
Yes.
So that has put USPS in this position where they say, well, you kind of say this is tobacco products and so on. So that's what we're trying to work with here. And one of the consequences of this is it does not provide an exception for, say, a state lab or a business or even an individual consumer. Peer-to-peer is okay.
Right.
But shipping like samples, if we were to have another lung injury episode, those samples would not be able to be shipped through the mail. I imagine someone from FDA or CDC personally goes out and brings that stuff back in a box.
Okay.
But it's just kind of one of those, it's sort of a ridiculous thing. Why would you stand in the way of something like that, being able to send a sample of a potentially contaminated product to a lab or federal authority that will then analyze it and give us all the information that we need to know.
Right.
So, those are kind of more complex things, but I think there's certainly good opportunity here for discussion about how we even talk about the products.
Yes. Yes.
And again, I'm sure I sound like a broken record, but I know I can't say it enough. Your stories matter.
Yes.
And me personally, I wouldn't have switched as soon as I did if I didn't get my starter kit through the United States Postal Service.
Yep. Same. I think a lot of people are that same way. Like, I know there's a lot of brick and mortar stores too, and there's a lot of those stories, but especially in the internet age, I feel like everybody just says, I went online and bought an e-cig.
Yeah.
And I quit.
I went online and bought an e-cig after I watched your video about taking the next vaping step.
Yes. well, I'm glad it helped. Look, I'm glad it helped. I love that story, and I'll never get sick of hearing it. I think there's like an unspoken understanding whenever Alex and I are public, it's going to get mentioned. I'll either go, oh, Alex, how did you get into vaping? Kind of always comes up. Well, and one thing that I hear, I guess we're just going to talk about this now. We're going to skip all other news since we're just going to talk about the vape mail ban now. But one thing that I keep hearing is the cannabis industry seems very blindsided by this, and they are getting upset with the nicotine vapors. And I'm thinking, why? I mean, it's kind of our fault, but really this is Congress's fault. The responsibility lies with them because they don't understand what's going on. If you want to be mad, get mad with us at them for putting us in this situation.
Yeah, we have a common foe here.
Yeah, we have a common enemy.
I don't really want to put it in those terms. We have a common roadblock, I guess, is probably a better way to look at it. But yeah, I mean, there's no benefit to pointing fingers and trying to lay blame on the cannabis community or the nicotine community. It's not our fault. It's like blaming indoor vaping bans on cloud chasers.
Right.
That's not the timeline. That's not how it happened.
Yeah.
So to be honest, if we really do want to start some finger pointing, it was cannabis products that landed over 2,000 people in the hospital and killed 63 of them, I believe.
It was, yes.
Illicit ones, for the record.
Illicit, sure.
Again, just like what we're facing with this vape mail ban is a failure of policy.
Uh-huh.
And so I think we can all agree that Congress moves at the speed of a glacier, and they typically don't have the time, nor do they take the time or possess the curiosity to look much deeper into an issue regarding nicotine or frankly even cannabis.
Right. Yeah. Kind of every day there's just more things to be mad about. Every day there's just more things to be mad about. Actually, nuts to that. Let's do some other news real quick. Danielle Jones sent this over. Actually, not sent this over. University of Oklahoma researcher publishes major study on how e-cigarette use impacts chemotherapy. See, this is when I need like the science-y time bumper type of thing. Science-y time. And the bummer thing about this is that it's only on a local news NBC affiliate type of thing. It wasn't picked up kind of anywhere else, which is kind of a bummer. This is a real quick one, but it says, in Oklahoma, a researcher has published a groundbreaking study on e-cigarettes and their impacts on the effects of chemotherapy. Doctors say when patients who smoke are diagnosed with cancer, they often ask if switching to e-cigarettes or vapes will help. Yes. Yes. I can answer that yes right now. Absolutely. One of the things that they talk about in this, which I didn't really think about, is that if someone is an adult and they're smoking and they get diagnosed with cancer, they'll continue to smoke like through the chemotherapy, and that's what this researcher is trying to figure out. If they're going to smoke through chemotherapy anyway, is vaping better for the chemotherapy than not? Turns out, yeah, it's a lot better. Vaping's a lot better for you when you're on chemotherapy. She says that the findings, her name is Quimado, and I'm bad with people's names. Quimado began a lab study exposing cancer cells initially to electronic cigarettes, then treating them with a common chemo drug. There's not many details on this. I don't know what that means, exposing cancer cells to electronic cigarettes. I don't know what that means. Do they just show it to them? Do they go...
Look, see?
What? To electronic cigarettes? Just place them like a Truth Initiative ad and go, that's vaping. What do you think of it? I don't know exactly what that means. But early findings suggest that it made chemo less effective, but it turns out that for some tumors, it's worlds better. It's worlds better. So basically what they're coming down to on this, in fact, she says, yes, for smokers, they might be a better option than tobacco. This is from a researcher who's studying this. And so essentially what this comes down to is, yeah, she believes this to be better, but it's one of those, of course, we need more evidence, more science, more data. There's more nuance to this because it does affect some other tumors differently than other tumors. But for some patients, this would be like an ideal thing. I was just kind of blown away by that, smoking through chemotherapy. And I think that just shows really how difficult this is. I sound like a broken record when I say it's really, really difficult to quit smoking, but it is really, really hyper difficult to quit smoking. And that's one of those things that makes vape bans all the more infuriating. But that's kind of cool. A little bit of science there. I'll throw a link to that down in the description if you're interested. I have another story here, and I promise I'm going to read the rest of those super chats in a second. But I got another story here from the Philippines. Yeah, this is a real juicy, satisfying story. Real satisfying. Philippines suspends public consultation over FDA conflicts of interest. Yeah, so do you remember a while ago, Danielle Jones, when we were talking about how Bloomberg might have broken some international laws by giving money to the Philippines FDA? I'm going to post a link.
I definitely remember that.
It felt so good. You're thinking, I want Bloomberg to go down for this. So I'll post a link down in the description. Bloomberg donations to the Philippines FDA may have violated U.S. law, say experts. Well, here we are in the Philippines, and they are not excited about Bloomberg being in their country. The Philippines House of Representatives proposed suspending the Food and Drug Administration's virtual public consultation to regulate nicotine vaporizers and heated tobacco products. The proposal came about because the FDA admitted that it received funding from an international anti-smoking organization. Yeah, Bloomberg Philanthropies. So the way this shakes out is they were having these virtual FDA hearings to regulate electronic cigarettes. And one of the representatives, Swansing, I think her name is Swansing. And I'm not, but look at this picture of Swansing. Look at this representative from the Philippines. Looks like a glamour magazine.
It does. Looks like she's about to enter like Miss America.
How would you not want her to be representing
classy.
You? Yeah, classy. It looks like a fashion magazine. She asked a representative, she asked someone from the Philippines FDA if they had taken money, and this FDA official said that a superior had instructed him to not answer that question. Sure. Nothing fishy. No, nothing fishy at all. Did you take money from outside, international business? I've been instructed to not answer that question. Great. So when pressured later, they admitted, okay, yeah, we did. We took a bunch of money from Bloomberg Initiative, Bloomberg Philanthropies, and the union, which I was unaware of the union. You guys are probably hip to the union. Alex, you're definitely hip to the union, right? I think you follow
sort
the
of
union.
found out about it in the past year or so.
Okay. This is my first time finding out about the union, but the union is one of these like Bloomberg, like slimy tentacle philanthropy things. It's like Bloomberg funds Stop, which is a part of the union, and then the union how does this shake out? It's the Bloomberg slimy tentacles all over the place. It's like 4 different things that are all tied back to Bloomberg, but it's like this organization co-manages the grant program, which is a part of Stop, which is a part of Bloomberg Global Philanthropies. These representatives, these parliamentarians did not like this at all. The original person, Swansing, basically got the vice president of parliament involved, Victor Savillano. Look at this guy too. Victor Savillano. I just want to be this guy's friend.
Aww.
Look at that. Look at these great representatives. He is the president of the House of Representatives, and he basically went, okay, hard stop on all of this. We're stopping this right now. There's potential conflicts of interest. We are going to launch a full investigation into this. This, transparency is really, really important to us. If you're getting money from, Bloomberg and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. And so they're going to investigate this whole situation with Bloomberg and receiving money. The FDA, Philippines receiving money from Bloomberg. He might go down in the Philippines. He might go down internationally. And I think this is just a great thing. I think it's a bummer, I guess, that it had to happen in the Philippines, and there has to be all this investigatory work. It would be much better if we didn't have Bloomberg and his dark money to begin with. But it's really interesting to me when you see Bloomberg. It's easy in the United States, right? Because he has Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids and the American Heart Association. But you see Bloomberg trying to do this in the UK. And he brings over Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids to the UK and tries to start talking about youth vaping in the UK. And Ash and Public Health England kind of just go,
"What youth vaping?
Yeah, what on earth are you even talking about?" And then you see Bloomberg go to the Philippines, and he's just like, "I'm just going to give their FDA money to use our tobacco control." That's insane. He's just shameless about it. Completely shameless. So it'll be interesting to see what other countries Bloomberg tries to get his greasy tentacle arms into. So gross. Bloomberg is so gross.
We should just start calling him Hydra.
Hydra. Oh, that's good. He is Hydra if you think about it. He's the Red Skull. I mean, I'm not saying that. Okay.
Been watching a lot of Marvel. Sorry.
I know. A lot of Marvel. I'm just waiting for Winter Soldier and the Falcon comes out soon.
I know.
In a few days. It's this weekend. I'm
so excited.
I'm really excited about it. Let's see. I had one other thing that I wanted to mention, but only because it was something that was completely off of my radar, and then I heard about it, and I instantly got enraged. So there was this nicotine tax bill that was working its way through committee, through the House committee back in 2019. And I was this on your radar, Danielle Jones? I don't remember hearing anything about the nicotine tax from 2019.
I feel like Alex should answer that question.
Alex, do you remember anything about a nicotine tax from 2019?
HR 4742?
Yeah.
Likely, yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bills, you guys.
Look, yeah,
I don't remember the last month.
No, I'm just my mouth is trying to catch up with my brain here. Yes, there is still this idea that the federal government is going to find a way to achieve tax parity across all tobacco products. And so this is something that actually got folded into Frank Pallone's bill last year. that passed the House.
Yes.
And it's this weird kind of it's a pretty ham-handed attempt, but it is one of the more interesting ham-handed attempts that we've seen. They try to do this nicotine content. They claim that it's the same as the tax on cigarettes if you base it on like a nicotine content level. But I remember my first critique about this was something about the difference between nicotine yield and nicotine content. And nicotine yield is notoriously like next to impossible to standardize. But the nicotine content thing is also ridiculous. I think it's not parity. It comes out to being something like dozens of dollars more per milligram or something like that than if the same measure was applied to cigarettes.
Sure. So you're telling me that politicians without any knowledge or information on the subject matter attempted to just legislate a huge tax on nicotine without really knowing much about it. I am shocked. I am shocked, Alex. Shocked. And it was and so I don't know why. I think Greg Connolly tweeted this and it was in my bookmarks. And so I read this the other night thinking it was like happening right now. And I'm reading this and I'm just getting more and more angry because they're talking about how it looked like it took a few days to go through the House and like it wasn't even published before they voted on it. And they were trying to like move really fast. And then Representative Souzy said he's terrified by the number of teenagers who are becoming addicted to nicotine because of the vapes, and increasing the cost of vaping will have a direct correlation to decreasing, the number of vapers. This guy, Souzy, an American politician, on the other hand, who doesn't look delightful like a Philippine politician. He looks like he would kick your dog. This guy is just up in arms and wants to tax nicotine. And then I'm reading this chart about how it's going to get taxed. And it's like, what? 1,000 mil bottle would have an $83 tax, but a Juul pod only has $1 tax. A 60 mil bottle of 3 milligram would have a higher tax than a 59 milligram Juul pod. Just makes no sense, right? Like completely out of touch, don't know what they're legislating, politicians. So I just went crazy and I just rage tweeted about it. And Juka on Twitter kind of walked me down and said, okay, well, this article is from 2019. It looks like this bill died. And I'm like, okay, I mean, you're right. I'm still really mad about this. Still really very mad about this. And this bill, and the whole reason I'm mentioning any of this is because this is one of those instances where it makes me think of people who try to like make vaping some sort of partisan issue. The idea that your certain party is going to be nicer to vaping or will save vaping in some way. And all you have to do is look at this sneaky ass nicotine tax they tried to pass that had instant bipartisan support. The effort against vaping is bipartisan. And I don't know why the effort for vaping tends to fall on like partisan grounds. And that's just something that bothers me. I feel like we have to be way more united because you know what? They're absolutely united against vaping and against harm reduction products. I couldn't believe that. I'm going to post a link in the description to this article from a year ago. To be fair, Jim McDonald wrote a great article, and it really riled me up because I thought it was happening right now. And I thought, that's it. I'm like, what? I was about to lose it. I was about to lose my mind. I'm like, PMTAs and a vape mail ban and a nicotine tax. I didn't know what to do. It felt like way too much. And I'm just so thankful that that bill died. And I hope nobody brings it back. But go read that article from Jim McDonald, and you can rage along. And I guess that'll wrap up the newsy bits. I'll put links all over the place down in that description for you to check out, including the call to actions and all of the such as for CASAA and the vape mail ban and the feedback and all that stuff. So, how are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great. Danielle Jones, we're doing great on time today.
I know, right?
So
we could have an entire discussion after about chocolate if you want.
We should.
So
actually,
much time. We could get into chocolate, daylight savings time. We could talk about like the Second Amendment again. That would be great. Get everybody all riled up.
Did we did talk about the Second Amendment?
We did talk about
times, I think we
guns.
Have.
Yeah,
we have talked about guns. Well, look, that's just what we do over here on TBN. Let me get a few of these super chats before we get here talking about the vape mail ban. Legion Vape sent you, Dave. All right, I appreciate that, Dave. I appreciate you too, Legion Vapes. Six Ghost got an email from my local B&M saying for shipping they can't use USPS, but any shipments require a photo ID and from an adult and a signature, but doesn't say who they are using.
If they're your local B&M, they could potentially use a local courier system. They themselves can drive. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, but this is for a lot of this stuff is for common carriers, which is like the big guys. But any bike messenger service or local whatever, I believe can still deliver.
Yeah, and just to add that. I think obligatory, check your local laws first before deciding that that's okay, especially if you're a business owner. I think New York City prohibited delivery sales. It's different. The wording is slightly different, but if you see delivery sales type language in your local ordinances, it may be prohibited.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, because I was thinking local couriers, and I don't know. Look, I'm just the idea guy, right? I don't have to do all the legwork on this, but why not like a Postmates, DoorDash type of,
like Ease in California.
Like Ease in California. I can get weed delivered to my house. It's just a little courier who goes to the dispensary for me and buys my weed for me and delivers it to my house for me. He does check my ID. And that's part of the process. And I'm assuming that's going to be a part of the process moving forward, regardless of if DHL or UPS changes their policy, they're probably still going to have some sort of adult verification, signature, photo ID requirements for vape stuff. I feel like there's no turning back from that. There's no getting home after work and seeing your vape mail package sitting on your doorstep anymore. Right. Zaddy Vapes, can someone please explain why Bloomberg has such a vendetta against vaping? There has got to be more to this story that we don't know. Look, I don't know. You can't defend Bloomberg. When he was the mayor of New York City, he wanted to ban large sodas. And he was on the cover of the New York Times in like a housemaid dress called and it said, the big headline said, Nanny Bloomberg wants to cut your soda back. It used to be looked on as like a negative thing, like, oh, Nanny Bloomberg trying to control society. And now it just seems like people ask him like directly to intervene in their lives. I don't know if the rest of the story is. I think Bloomberg's just a power-hungry guy who wants to control everything. John Deck, very gracious of you. I own a vape juice manufacturing company called Hot Juice with 20 employees who all can't afford to lose their jobs. We will continue to ship until they break down our lab doors. As Captain America would say, not us. Not us. That's a very noble thing. Ultimately be careful because these are laws that are enforceable with punishment that is also involved in them. John Deck, one thing I would send you to is Vape Freight. Are you guys familiar with Vape Freight, Danielle, Alex?
I've heard about it. The one that I've heard is making more headlines is X.
X? Oh, what's X? I haven't heard about X.
So my understanding, and some of this is like just sort of rumor or whatnot, but sure. X is definitely a shipping company that has put out multiple press releases advertising that they can and will continue or will ship vapor products, basically.
Oh, really? And it's just X, like the letter X?
Just the letter X. It's a little weird. When I first saw it, I was like, this looks slightly shady. And also, I feel like there could be a bureaucratic nightmare with paperwork. Like, who's your shipping carrier? X. And they're like, X. No, you forgot to fill this out. Like, I foresee that. That's just me. Anyway, maybe they should have picked a different name. But that's the one that I've been hearing the most about. And I think some larger companies, I can't remember if I thought there was a larger, manufacturer that may be using them basically. So that's the one that I had sort of heard about. And I believe we have a link for Jim's article, don't we?
Yeah, it should be in the document.
I feel like I thought I remember him talking about that in here, but I can't remember.
Is this X shipping? Is this for business to consumer? Or is this business to business? Oh, this is B2C. Both. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think it's both.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
So Vape Freight, and I'll post the link, I'll have the link in the description. I'll throw the link in the chat. Vape Freight is nationwide B2B shipping. This is put together, I believe, by the people that started MePod, Smoking Vapor, MePod. And they have a big, about us saying, look, we're the vape industry. We've faced adversity since day one. And so, look, we have 20 years in logistics. We're launching Vape Freight. Contact us today. We'll get your first shipments going. And they're like, here's our pricing. Here's our services. This is for B2B support, nationwide B2B shipping.
Right. Yeah. In Jim's article, it does talk about it. He says in this article, I'm just going to read a small snippet. It says, however, there now appears to be a kernel of hope for vapers, at least for a fairly large number of vapers. A partnership between a private group buying company and a national residential shipping carrier known simply as X has begun building a vaping product delivery network that will serve residential customers in some areas, with more to follow. There are currently more questions than answers about which areas will be covered and which vape companies will be able to participate, but the folks at X seem dedicated to making it happen.
X shipping. All right. Well, I'll try to track down some information on X shipping, put it down in the description for anybody who's in a, brick and mortar store, like an online retailer. I'll be interested to see who uses that. I'm fascinated by this. I feel like I have to do a deep dive into this now because I don't know anything about X. I mean, if this is just like a thing that's starting up, I feel like it'll take time. But if it's already established, you could be ready to ship to your door.
My understanding. Yeah, it sounded like the network was already kind of in place. I think it likely needs some expanding. I don't know that it covers the entire country.
Sure.
But that's the one that I had been hearing about, and this article does go into it. I know it's a long article, you guys.
That's super
Nick
long.
is gonna link it, but it is in there.
Yes. Definitely. I will definitely link that below. Interesting. X shipping. Okay.
In terms of shipping though, PSS asked in chat, he said, I need to understand about import to, from, and within the US. How will anyone get products, and why can't companies ship out of the US? So Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but from a regulatory standpoint, the United States and this legislation doesn't really have anything to do with shipping, regulating shipping products outside of the country, because they don't, control what other countries will and won't receive. But the problem is a logistical problem, because UPS, FedEx, now DHL, from what I understand, and USPS are all not shipping vapor products, either USPS by regulation or the other three by their own private decisions on their own policy. That's the main issue of getting product, out of the country, essentially, because, ATF and Congress doesn't regulate other countries and what they will or will not receive or whatnot.
Exactly.
But the carriers are the issue of getting things out of the country, at least.
That sounds right to me.
Good. Short and sweet. That's another thing that I'm curious about. I don't really know the answer to international. I don't know if the personal packages, the acceptable 10 a month personal packages between adults, if that's allowed internationally. If I want to send someone in Australia a bottle of e-liquid, I feel like I'll be able to do that without any issue. But it's the idea of, because the UK loves American e-liquids. At least that's what my distro contact in the UK tells me, is that they love American e-liquids, but that supply is drying up and they don't know if they're ever going to be able to get more American e-liquids. And it's crazy that American legislation is affecting the market in the UK because UPS is following suit with DHL, which is following suit with USPS. How does American vape legislation affect the whole world?
Trickle down effects.
trickle-down effects. And this is a question I have no idea the answer to. Why did UPS and DHL just jump on FedEx, just jump on unflinchingly? They didn't go, that's weird. They didn't go, oh, that sucks for USPS. They went, we'll willingly go through that too.
I mean, it is an interesting question because you would think that they would be like, ooh, more money for us if we keep shipping this. However, I do recall, I think at some point hearing a presentation where, an ATF representative mentioned, I'm sure it's other places, but there is a significant issue with illegal cigarette trafficking in New York State. And I recall the ATF guy saying something to the effect of FedEx had gotten in trouble or fined or something, I think because their, service was being used to deliver some of these things. So I don't know, I'm not 100% sure on this, but there may be some element of liability if they even, unknowingly are transporting these products illegally. I'm not 100%, don't quote me on that, but that's the only thing that I can think of as to why they wouldn't have been like, yeah, give us the business.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. I mean, they know that they unknowingly ship illegal stuff every day, right? Like they can't just be an ostrich with their head in the sand going, nope, everything we ship is perfectly good and legal and on the up and up. I mean, I've had FedEx deliver me illicit substances before. I just signed, Nick, yeah, thanks. Have a great day. Thanks for the drugs.
I don't know if it's like maybe DEA doesn't hold them responsible for that, but ATF does. I'm not really sure how that dynamic works. I don't know, Alex, if you have any thoughts on why they would have jumped on board.
I think partially, I don't know what percentage of their decision is this, but I think it's a PR move. I think they're trying to look like responsible companies. But on the other side of this, I agree. I think there's a compliance issue here. One of the things about the PACT Act is that it makes it incredibly difficult just to file the paperwork in 50 states. And Jim gets into this in the article. It's a good write-up on the issue here. There are people with companies that will help you with the compliance in terms of knowing where the taxes are that you need to pay, what the rates are, and keeping you updated on how those rates might be changing in the future, because it's not uniform across the country, as many people know. You have state and local taxes. So that just the paperwork element of this alone is a huge burden. It is sort of curious though. I get my snus through UPS.
Yeah.
Because I order it from Sweden, and I've just never had a problem. I don't know that UPS is looking to end that service. There is this, fortunately, people don't like smokeless tobacco, I guess. Snus is totally different than what most of you understand about American smokeless tobacco. But it's bizarre. I mean, vaping and snus, they're on the same level as far as harm and risk and all of that.
Yes.
So
shrug. I mean, it's hard to get. I mean, it's hard to think rationally when the subject matter is so like. It just seems, chaotic when you think. Like the FDA clearly says that snus is, spectrum of harm different. It's like one step away from just saying, okay, also vaping is around that same level as snus. Since we've already admitted that snus falls on a continuum of harm, how quick is it just to say, oh, also vaping does too. Also vaping does too. But ultimately, that wouldn't even affect these regulations at all, because this was started by John Cornyn and Dianne Feinstein. And, just as a little history, this was a dead bill. It was just sitting dead, was never going to get voted on, was never going to do nothing. It got slipped into the omnibus budget bill. It had to pass. Boom, it got passed. And now everybody's scrambling up, down, and sideways. USPS is actively seeking feedback. Private shippers, private carriers, Vape Freight, TikTok. I mean, seriously. Mad Viking Review says, my thoughts are this will kill small independent review channels. What are your thoughts, Nick? TRV crew. No, I mean, not really. I mean, possibly it's going to be tougher, but I don't think it's going to kill independent review channels. I think there's lots to talk about other than just new products. I think there's lots to discuss other than just new products. John's back here. Hey, Nick, it's John. John Deek rhymes with geek. Okay. Hot Juice is located in Los Angeles, and we ship nationally right now. We are working on finding an alternative, including Vape Freight or X, even local delivery. Yeah. Do it. Do it. Stick it out. There are solutions. And, I think it was Matt who said this. Might have been Matt. Maybe I'm falsely attributing this to Matt. But it feels like everybody's feeling like, oh, vaping is like everybody's saying, oh, vaping's dying. Vaping's dead. Vaping's going to be dead after this. When really it's like this little portion of it is really going to be dead. And we have brick and mortar stores. We have private deliveries. There are options. There's a little part of it that's kind of changing, I guess, or going away. And even if it does come back, it's going to be different because of signatures. But I hate this defeatist, like vaping is dying thing. There's still brick and mortar stores that you can definitely go to. In fact, in times like this, I feel like we should be supporting our brick and mortar stores, I don't know, as much as we possibly can. I don't mean to get on here and just rant, but I don't like that defeatist attitude. Beatles Forever had a question in the chat that says, so what is going to happen to all the Chinese companies that make and distribute mods and such? Not that I care about China, but at this point they make most of the devices on the vape store shelves.
If I had to guess, I would say that they're still going to be shipping a lot of essential oils and jewelry box parts.
Yeah. I've gotten packages from China that just say hobby parts. That's it. A DHL box that says hobby parts. I don't think China's going to care. When has China ever cared?
I mean, they don't usually care about our regulations.
And I think it's going to be like, sure, there might be a little bit of a gamble if you go to Fast Tech or a Chinese website and you order a Vupu Drag 3. You're either going to get it or you're going to get a letter. You're going to get a letter saying that it was rejected at customs. Right. It's going to be a little bit of a gamble. Chances are you'll be able to get it, I think. I mean, I don't want to give people false hope and I don't want to say break the law, but chances are, odds favor you being able to order something from China and China just not caring. If they get it order from the US, they go, okay, there you go. Ship it, send it over. Now, large orders for brick and mortar stores, this is where we get into that sticky area of them not allowing large shipments into the country. And this is where I keep coming back to seeing the supply chain break down, is how are brick and mortar stores going to get the products to sell if they can stay open.
Right. I mean, that's part of the equation. And, right? If it's going to be able to, continue, because a lot of things are up in the air, you guys. I mean, we're hypothesizing with options and potentials and things like that. But realistically, we're just going to have to kind of wait and see what happens. But my hope, if we're talking about hopes here, my hope and guess that the best way to move forward would be, if possible, that, some of these larger distributors located within the country are able to secure, shipping contracts and whatnot with X or Vape Freight or whoever it is, that shops would basically be forced to purchase from domestic, distributors rather than, direct from manufacturers overseas or whatnot. I mean, if that were the worst case scenario, I personally would probably be okay with that because product is still, coming in and it's still, but I would think that, they might need to look domestically. And I think a lot of people have talked about the industry basically sort of getting consolidated down, right? If you think about a lot of other industries, the vape industry is a little bit unique in that we have like 80 million different, a lot of other larger industries have like specific channels. You know what I mean? If you think about food and beverage or other things, there's like particular distributors. Right. I watch Shark Tank all the time. They're like, you need to get into this distributor and then you'll be rich. You know what I mean? Like there's fewer channels in other industries. And I can see, out of necessity that potentially happening in the vape industry if this can work.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I mean, yes. And I really like that there's already alternative solutions kind of happening. Not many. Sure, we have this X now that I just heard about today. We heard about Vape Freight today. There's other companies that are just saying, look, we've secured shipping. Continue ordering. Like 8Vape, I talked about this on the vlog last week. 8vape.com sent out an email to all of their whatever on their mailing list and said, we have shipping, secure shipping. You're going to need to sign for every package that comes, and it's not available in quite all the areas yet. But it is. It's a thing. 8Vape will still be shipping. I
believe Giant Vapes, if I'm not mistaken, sent out a similar email to their customers, basically saying like, we're working on a solution, something to that effect. So there are companies, larger companies, that are still trying to see, because this is a two-part problem, and I've tried to stress this like a bunch. There's the problem of logistics, who is literally going to deliver this to said person's house. Right. That's the first problem. And then the second problem is all the regulations surrounding taxes that are enforced by ATF, right? And we've talked about this before, but I'm going to go ahead and reiterate it. Yeah. So this legislation that was in the omnibus bill basically creates all of these requirements, wherein, essentially people who are shipping products directly to consumers have to register with every single tax entity in the country that taxes these products. So that means state, city, municipal, local, county, tribal, anything, any area that has a tax for these products, you have to register. You also have to have a registered agent physically within that state. So that's like a lawyer or something that you have to hire for each state that has this. You then have to report every single month all of the sales you do to the tax person in that area. That includes, who ordered from you. So if you're a customer, your name, your address, what you ordered, when you ordered, all of that information is getting sent to your local tax, every single month. They have to pay the taxes. They have to report all of these things. They have to register with ATF. They have to follow all legal laws anywhere that apply to these products whatsoever, which Alex and I have talked about before, could include PMTA stuff. Like, in order to be compliant with ATF, you may have to, I think this is a little unclear, but if all laws apply, then FDA regulation on PMTAs would also, right? Logically. So if you don't have a PMTA...
I'm not going to offer this as business or legal advice, but that's how I read it. If you don't have some sort of note, if you don't have a note from mom that you can sell your vape products, then USPS or any other shipper may very well have a problem with shipping it.
Right. And ATF, has stated that, if you violate, any of these like local laws, let's say, Dallas, Texas has an age verification law. And if you're a manufacturer and you ship directly to consumers and you violate that and you don't age verify, my understanding was that now becomes a federal violation because it's under ATF, right? And they're like, you have to follow all the rules everywhere. Yeah. And it's like a little crazy. So it's a two-part problem. It's a logistical problem. And then it's also, I don't know what you would call it, bureaucracy, paperwork, regulatory hurdles.
Bureaucratic problem. Yeah, that'd be the perfect way to put it. And that is included, just for clarification on my own part, no matter what you do, if you're a brick and mortar store and you have local couriers that will deliver products for you, this ATF PACT Act, Jenkins Act still applies. Even if you're not using UPS, even if you're not using USPS, even if you're, I don't know, this is where I'm confused.
I believe, and Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't apply to in-person sales, but if it is a not in-person sale, I think it then does apply. Does that sound right, Alex?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know that it matters. When you say in-person sale, somebody is actually going into the store and purchasing it.
Right. Like if you're a brick and mortar, you don't have to.
Or if you're making a phone call, that's a remote sale.
Right.
Okay.
And so the ATF stuff doesn't apply to the ground level in-person brick and mortar. You don't have to register with ATF and that kind of stuff. Right. You just have to follow your local, whatever your local is. But if it's some sort of remote, I don't know if it's across it. What exactly it is, I think that gets a little dicier.
A phone call is not the same as in person.
I think they consider it like mail order or
remote?
Something. What was the old school words that they used to?
Yeah, remote sales it's an all-encompassing kind of, you're not standing in the store, but you're still buying products.
And so that applies. That sucks. That sucks worse than I thought it sucked. There's just no way around the PACT Act at all.
I mean, it's pretty airtight.
It's pretty airtight. That damn PACT Act. And what's the reality of like this ever getting overturned, that we wouldn't be somehow included in the PACT Act? I mean, slim to none. Right?
I mean, we already are. So that's
right. We already are.
And the PACT Act, officially goes into effect the 26th of this month. So that's what, like less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's when all of that crazy bureaucratic things that I just listed off,
yes,
that's when all of that goes into effect. So
right.
I know somebody was asking, like, when do you think we're going to see shops closing down? Like, my guess would be anytime before the 26th of this month, because that's when all of the USPS deadline technically, or the deadline that Congress
April, right?
gave USPS is April 27th,
right.
I believe. And I was going to have Alex talk about that a little bit too. We're not actually sure, how quickly. I think that's like the latest they're supposed to do it, but we were hypothesizing that they may, put this into effect as soon as the 31-day comment period is over. And so I haven't looked at a calendar to see if that lands on that April 27th or not. But the big PACT Act deadline is this month. It's in like less than 2 weeks.
So the way that we're looking at this, and I'm just taking the U.S. Postal Service's interpretation of effective dates, the USPS regulations are in effect on and after publishing of the final rule. So there's no additional 30-day period for that. They can, if the comment period closes on the 22nd and they rifle through all of the comments and have a final rule published on the 23rd, it's effective.
Interesting.
But
okay.
So far, we're kind of going off of, there was a quote, I think, in Tobacco Reporter saying that the 27th of this month would probably be the earliest we'd see it take effect.
And are we going to have finalized rules, guidance from USPS before this takes effect?
I guess that's what they're aiming for.
Effect.
And we have to keep in mind that they're going into this comment period not really thinking there's going to be a whole lot that they're going to end up changing. So as far as they're concerned, I think to some extent they've written the final rule. Okay. And so it could be just a real quick turnaround.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Christian with the super chat here says, can TBN provide any information about batteries? My local shop said they can't sell high amp draw batteries. I don't believe that has anything to do with the vape mail ban or anything. To me, that sounds like your local shop is kind of just covering their own ass. That's what I would say. It's like a safety thing. It's just less liability.
I've never heard of any regulation about batteries. Yeah. Alex would know, but I don't. There's no like local, ordinances that we're aware of regulating battery sales.
I haven't heard anything like that. It's just probably just a liability thing. They probably just don't want to be held liable for selling high amp batteries if you're going to use it in a mech mod. Brandon asks, he says, the hobbyist vapors like me will notice they hit to the market more than the average pod user. Yes, but especially if you're used to getting liquids online. You still need to fill your pods with liquid. Chances are you're ordering your liquid online, or you're getting pod refills online. I think you're right that we're going to notice, and I think that the average pod user is going to notice suddenly that they can't get their stuff anymore. And when they do a deep dive, hopefully they'll end up right here, and they'll be like, Brandon, damn it, he was right. I didn't notice. Scott, that's very gracious of you. Christopher Murdoch, us up in Canada will always help you out with some 21700 flashlights and pony on acid massage oils.
Oh no.
And it's
sounds sticky.
Yeah, I know it does. It sounds sexy. It sounds sexy. Nomenclature and terminology it kind of feels like you might even be able to just goof some names on things. Like we were talking about, like hobby parts from China, or, I mean, I've seen firsthand, there's a mech mod company, and I'm not going to say the name of the mech mod company, but there's a mech mod company that is completely changing their company, changing their branding, changing their image, changing their marketing. They now sell mechanical flashlights with threaded flashlight connections. So you're essentially buying a mech mod, but for all intents and purposes, you're going to a flashlight website from a flashlight manufacturer to buy your flashlight that can be shipped to you through USPS, no PACT Act necessary. And that really is like, it's kind of a name. It's kind of like a terminology thing.
Other industries have done this before.
Loads.
If anyone's familiar with, for example, hydroponics growing.
Yeah.
I had a little stint in that industry as a graphic designer. And these products were marketed for your indoor growing of basil. Yes. And tomatoes basil, and eggplants.
Yep.
So, you know.
Yeah. That's like when I used to go shopping for glass tobacco pipes, you know, at my local head shop, where you walk in, it's just like 2,000 bongs, you know, but they go, oh, no, these are water tobacco pipes. That's what these are officially on paper, is water tobacco pipes. This is not a bong. But everyone in the known universe is going to look at that and go, yeah, it's a bong, bro. It's a bong. Call it what you want. That's a bong. So nomenclature and terminology, I think, could be a sneaky way to, I don't know. Look, you can order stuff from Canada. You can order stuff from China. And if they put massage oils on it, right through, no one would even notice. No one would notice.
I think it depends. I think it depends a little bit on how crazy, you know, customs and border patrol and everybody feels like getting. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, they're not, you know, dumb per se. Like, if they know that XYZ company from China, you know, has historically for the past, I don't know, 5, 8, whatever years been shipping stuff that says vape. And then all of a sudden it says, you know, music box parts. I don't, you know, is that going to fly? We're not dealing with complete idiots here. We're some of them are complete idiots, but not all of them. So I don't really know. You know, this is going to be a wait and see. We can't really predict what is going to happen, what is going to get through, how, you know, stringently they're going to, you know, police these packages. It is extremely unclear.
Up in the air. Up in the air. Joshua from the chat, no need to apologize. He says, sorry if I missed this. Is there a definitive date established for the USPS shipping regulation changes? I think we just kind of established it was the 26th of this month.
So the PACT Act goes into effect the 26th of this month. The USPS deadline given to USPS by Congress is next month, April 27th. But like we talked about, you know, that's not necessary. Like, it could go into effect sooner than that. Right, Alex?
Yeah. And just, I'll say it again, just for the benefit of the question. The USPS's position is it's effective on and after when they publish the final rule. So, you know, they're not actually waiting for a specific date. It's when the rule is finalized. That's when it is in effect.
That's when it's going to be happening. Hope that answers your question. Had another super chat here from John Deek. I've been in the vape industry since 2005, and I worked with Elaine Keller from CASAA back in the day when Judge Leon tried to ban importing vape products in 2009. We will get through this. Just stay together as one community. Damn. Yeah, absolutely. You've been in the industry since 2005. That's damned impressive. Yeah.
It is.
And I went back today and did a little bit of like a look at that Judge Leon ruling. It's really interesting to read vape news from 2010 that could have been vape news from today.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. It's like, wow, we've been through this before already. Johnny, 18-year-old, I went to my first pipe shop and asked the guy how much weed he had to smoke to work there, and I got thrown out. That's because they're not bongs, bro. They're not bongs. They're tobacco water pipes. Tobacco
artisan ones at that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're beautiful.
Artisan tobacco pipes. So we got the PACT Act. We've established the PACT Act is happening on March 26th. USPS is happening whenever they finish the final rule. That might be April 13th.
It could be like
26th.
USPS?
Yeah, USPS.
30 days after they published it, right? Yeah.
No, it takes effect immediately.
Even sooner? Okay.
It takes effect immediately.
Okay.
Weren't they going to wait for the comment period to close before they publish the final, or no?
Exactly. Yeah. So the chunks of time are, they're giving everybody 30 days. That ends on the 22nd of March, the month that we're in. Okay. That's the comment period, and that is also everyone's 30-day notice. So when the comment period ends, it is possible that within a week or less, USPS can finalize their rule, publish it in the Federal Register, and when it is officially published in the Federal Register as a final rule,
that's when it takes place.
It takes effect immediately.
Wow. So we're working with a much shorter time frame than I think any of us really thought about. People on Facebook and, I've seen people all over social media talking about the end of April. April 30th is going to be the last day for shipping.
Well,
that's not realistic.
I mean, the date that I've seen some other questions going by about, FedEx and UPS and DHL. FedEx's current policy, they state that they're not shipping business to consumer, certainly. I'm not entirely sure about business to business. If you are a business,
all of it. FedEx cut off all of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then UPS, they're doing the same thing, and their deadline is April 5th. I'm not exactly sure where end of April is. I think that may have been an old, maybe something that was originally published by FedEx and UPS. DHL, I'm not totally clear on, but I haven't heard any definitive yes, DHL is going to be the go-to shipper for any of this.
I heard DHL just put out an announcement saying that they would no longer either. They were the last ones late to the party, but I saw a letter from someone. Yeah,
exactly. Have this. DHL regulatory compliance is key to our company's continued success, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, due to recent regulatory changes, blah, 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 DHL sucks. We will no longer be accepting vaping products for import or export through its U.S. network as of March 26th, 2021. This prohibition includes all vape devices, products, and accessories.
They're going off of the congressional definition.
All vape devices, products, and accessories.
Right.
For more information.
So I think people got the deadline of the end of April from Congress's deadline to USPS, right? Because they'd initially said 120 days after this passes. And 120 days was, in fact, April 27th. So I think that's why people keep thinking, because they're not understanding that this is a two-part problem, right? PAC Act problem, shipping ban problem, further confounded by the private companies each have their own deadline, in addition to USPS being given a deadline by Congress. So I think the dates are confusing, but just understand that this is coming soon.
It's coming
real soon.
Real soon.
So
the chances
week,
are,
right?
I would say within the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks, I would say. 2 weeks.
So the 27th is next Saturday.
Yep. Correct. And then it's whatever question mark amount of days until they've released the final rule or published the final rule.
I can tell you, from my real life that, the company that I work for, we are closing down our online e-commerce website on the 25th, the day before the actual, PAC Act deadline goes into effect. Sure. So we're stopping shipments. It's posted on our website. We're stopping shipments at 2 p.m. on the 25th. That's when I'm turning the site off, basically the store. Wow. So I think that's the day. If companies are really paying attention and up on this, you're going to see a lot happen in that week, essentially, is my guess.
Yeah, and it's gonna be next week's gonna be a depressing week. Next week's gonna be a super depressing week. We're gonna see a lot of closing announcements. We're gonna see a lot of. I've seen companies, District 5, blowing out all of their inventory. It's like $5 atomizers, and people are like, "Yeah, I got such a good deal," and I'm like, "You should be sadder than that. You should have not wanted that deal. You should have wished that you were paying full price and that was a regulated product in your hand." Horribly sad. Horribly sad. Scott says, I'm confused about how this will affect me in the UK. Is there anything I can do? As far as I know, Scott, all the way from the UK, there's nothing you can do in any sort of official capacity as far as like a call to action or submitting any sort of comments or anything like that, other than just supporting the cause, supporting your vape fam, getting the word out there. You know, that's really all we can do right now. It's a global thing. It's not going to affect you directly in the UK other than kind of what I was saying earlier when I was talking to my UK distro guy. He was talking about he sells a ton of American e-liquids in the UK, and that supply is drying up. And you won't be able to get American e-liquids in the United Kingdom. I guess that's how it's going to affect you. So if Homeboy's Mango is your favorite liquid, you might not be able to get it very much longer.
And that's due to the...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If I could just add another layer to this.
Yes.
You know, usually when CASAA puts out a call to action like this, it is limited to the United States.
Yeah.
But this is different. We're just posting up an email address. So if you live outside the United States and American e-liquids are something that you enjoy and you're not going to have access to them anymore, and you know, these are products going to shops that shops sell and make money off of. They're losing some of their inventory and some of their best sellers. So just like the issue we have here is making sure that shops can still get the products to stock their shelves. I think that is a really important perspective. And look at number one on our call to action. You can send your comment to that email address. They don't care who it comes from. But I think it's a really good point that we were talking about earlier. You know, one of America's worst exports is our policy. And this is right up there with all the other bad policies that we put out. And it's right in line with, you know, Public Health England and activists in the UK have had to push back on all of the lies that came out of the United States.
Oh yeah.
They are moving. They have to put out these campaigns to counter all of the misinformation coming out of the US. So definitely, if you live in the UK, if you live anywhere in the world and you have access to American e-liquids or devices or anything that you want to keep seeing, you're probably not going to keep seeing them, but the USPS and future activists who are going to be working to overturn this rule need to hear from you.
Yes. Oh, well, there you go. I was unaware, but there you go. Alex Clark says if you're in the UK, do it. All hands on deck.
Yeah, it's a two-part call to action. So part one is the USPS comment, and you can do that, is what he's saying, even if you're outside of the country. Part two is contacting your federal representatives. So you're not going to be able to do part two if you're located outside of the country, but you can do part one.
Yeah.
I do need to check that. I think we might have, I may have misspoke.
I don't think that we posted the email address.
Alex.
We could add that quickly, but it is in form version, I believe. Alex is going to check on that. Another thing that anybody anywhere can do, you guys, is if you felt so moved to tweet at, email, call, or make your voice heard to these private companies like FedEx, UPS, and DHL, and let them know as a consumer that you are extremely unhappy with their decision, that anybody can do that anywhere in the world. So if you guys want to, tweet at FedEx or tweet at UPS and tell them how frustrated you are about this,
Absolutely.
That is always an option to you as well, right? Vote with your wallet, consumer feedback, etc.
Twitter, honestly, Twitter's a really good place to get at things like FedEx and UPS, because that's like they don't want this out in public. They don't want you publicly airing your dirty laundry and all the issues they have with their company where other potential customers are going to see it. So truly and honestly, getting on Twitter and tweeting at USPS, or not USPS, UPS,
FedEx. Yeah.
FedEx and UPS is really, really effective because, again, at the end of the day, USPS isn't like a for-profit thing. It's a service of the government. FedEx and UPS are businesses.
Yes.
And you can vote with your dollars against businesses like that, especially if you make a public stink about it. Had a super chat here, all caps from Truckin' Reviews. So picture this yelling. According to an article I got, DHL quit shipping vape products in 2014. I have an article on hand if you want to tell me where to send it. Yeah, send that over to me, nick@grimmgreen.com. I'd like to read that. It's funny that you mentioned that because that sounds familiar. There was something with DHL once upon a time with shipping vape stuff, wasn't there?
Yeah, I've heard before, like, that their policy has always been that they don't do this, and I don't know the exact technicality, but they've definitely recently
doubled down,
doubled down on it. So I don't know if it was like technically a policy, but they just sort of looked the other way, because like everybody would get stuff from China from DHL, right? Like everybody.
I got something today.
I don't know if they're being more stringent about it, but they did recently put out something, that letter that you showed to some businesses saying that we are no longer going to do this.
You mean?
I know somebody also, yeah, exactly. I know someone in chat, and forgive me, I can't remember who, also asked about DIY and how this is going to affect DIY. So from what I have heard, the biggest concern for the DIY community is getting nicotine. That is going to be, there is, theory and or hypothesis that other ingredients like VG, PG, even flavorings, because those are used, outside of the vaping industry, that may or may not, it's hard to know, but it's less likely that could potentially be affected than the nicotine itself. And so, for DIY type people, I'm not trying to start telling anyone to panic buy. I personally stocked up on nicotine for DIY because I want to be prepared, because I want to make sure, regardless of what happens, that I am not going to go back to smoking. So I did go and purchase a large amount of concentrated nicotine that I can store in my freezer and use over time. For anybody, who is really worried about this, I would maybe go ahead and do that. It's not going to hurt anything, right? Nope. To be prepared. Like, Isn't that what the Boy Scouts say? Always be prepared.
Always be prepared.
So, if you have not done that, and that is something that you are concerned about, that is a step that you can take, is to stock up on that. Because that is probably, from what I'm hearing, that's the main concern, is the availability of nicotine for DIY.
Absolutely. And last week we posted a link that Mowgli Vape sent back old ECF threads of the chemistry professor literally talking about on ECF long-term nicotine storage. He kept nicotine in his freezer for 6 years, unchanged. So there's resources out there, there's information out there, but I mean, honestly, if you're worried, I would stock up. I would say stock up.
Even for the peace of mind. I mean, I did it. I've got nicotine in my freezer.
Even for the peace of mind. And honestly, and I know this is going to sound dumb too, but hardware. If you have 2 mods, buy 2 more mods at least. Get another mod. And I'm not telling you, just say GrimmGreen gave me permission to go buy mods. Have a backup for your backup, and a backup for that, and then a spare, and then a backup for your spare, and atomizers and coils, because you don't want to imagine having, you're like, oh, I stocked up on nicotine, drag 3 dies, that's it. You're waiting now till you can get to a brick and mortar store to maybe buy a new mod if they have something in stock, if they were able to get something from China. So not just liquids, hardware, stock up, batteries. Now, maybe you don't need to stock up on batteries. You can kind of get batteries wherever. But stock up.
I would be surprised if there was an issue with batteries, because, again, that's used in many, 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 many industries. So if you're buying batteries from a straight up battery, not vape related, not anything, website, I wouldn't foresee, them not being able to ship products anymore.
Yeah, it's just batteries. People use batteries for all sorts of things. Paulie G in the chat asked, will USAV juice be available in Australia after the vape mail ban? So, Paulie G, unfortunately, I think the conclusion that we're coming to is probably not. Probably not. That's as firm of an answer as I can give right now, is probably not. The struggle lies in getting it out of the country. And if DHL and UPS aren't willing to ship something out of the country, that's where the package stops. Right at the damn border right there. Right at the damn border. Paulie G had a super chat too here that says, oh yeah, same thing. Will it be available in Australia after? Chances are slim. You could still get USA Liquid in Australia if you have a friend who can send you a personal lightweight package 10 times a month.
That is in the rules.
That's all in the rules. And honestly, truly and honestly, you know what that feels like to me? This weird little exemption of personal packages. That feels like let the black market be okay. It feels like they're protecting the black market. Think about that. Kids on TikTok saying, no IDs, I'll ship you a puff bar, discreet shipping, one little puff bar and one little package, totally legal. Come on, that's cultivating a black market.
I mean,
Where's my tinfoil hat?
I am perplexed on why they allow. I mean, they do it for cigarettes too, right? That exemption applies to cigarettes and now to vaping. The 10 personal packages per month.
10 lightweight.
I don't know why that was initially put in there. I do find it interesting, but
because freedom.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
only a little.
Yeah, just enough to string you along. I mean, if I want to, I've gotten tobacco products shipped to me from friends. That's fair game. They're not making, hand over fist money sending me a package. So they're not operating as a business as far as anyone's concerned. I do appreciate the attempt at establishing some sort of threshold there.
Yeah. Enforceable 10 packages. Am I going to go to the post office with my 11th package of the month and be stopped at the door? They're going to go, Nick, that's your 11th package. I go, shit.
I mean, are they though?
Are they?
I would assume they have some sort of,
I feel like they just want you to be scared.
At the post office.
I feel like they just want you to be scared. The idea that there's this looming threat of you could get caught, and this, it's enforcement by intimidation. Really, it's like, look how overwhelming this regulation is. Look at this PACT Act. Aren't you scared?
It's supposed to function as a deterrent, like taking people out with a drone.
That arc really fast.
Dang. Dang.
You went there, you guys.
Dang. Had a super chat from cousin Barbara. Says, be right back. I got to go tweet and educate some companies. Yes, Barbara. Thank you. I knew I could count on you. I knew I could count on you, Barbara. Sexy King Phil says, Grimm, this mail ban sucks. Here's $5. Go buy a bag of chips and a soda. Done. I mean, shit, Sexy King Phil. I'm not going to take your $5. Truck in Review says, coil builders should be able to ship coils as jewelry components. Again, terminology, right? I see no reason why M-Turk can't continue to sell coils. I see no reason why Coil Turd can't continue to sell coils as hobby parts or decorative wire sculptures or something. Put it on a string, wear it around your neck. You'd still sell coils. Maybe not. I don't know, but it seems like you can.
I'm not commenting on business advice.
Yeah, I don't want to give any business. That's the thing. I don't want to. Well, and it's the same thing. Like even Jess Marie DHD is shutting down, and she just sells drip tips.
That isn't considered an accessory.
That's an accessory and is a tobacco product under the PACT Act. A ring of plastic is a tobacco product. Welcome to America, where nothing matters and everything's stupid. Alex, it looks like you had something that you were going to say there.
Oh no, the joke is passed. So,
okay. I feel like that
you got
to
jump in there.
I know. I felt like that was going to be a real zinger
I just
too.
let it go.
Wim in chat says, Grimm and Danielle, would it help if I ship from Belgium to America? We are not a vape producer country. Maybe that would work. If I can help this way, I would. So again, this is the same problem as, technically that's illegal for you to do. It's up to you if you want to attempt that, but you should know that technically that's illegal. And B, you're still going to have the problem because these policies from UPS and FedEx are global, is my understanding. So in any country, FedEx and UPS are not going to ship vape products, is my understanding.
Right.
So now DHL did have the caveat. They said specifically domestic, right? That letter specifically said
domestic on DHL.
Their United States network isn't that what it said?
Yeah, it said
through the U.S. network.
Yes, accept vaping products through our U.S. network.
So I don't know if that's leaving it open for international for DHL. International people should look into that. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
But FedEx and UPS did not, to my knowledge, have that stipulation of US only. I believe it is a worldwide policy, is my understanding.
Yeah. And so, and here's the thing about DHL. I get loads of packages from DHL from China. And when I was talking to my China contact guy, we were talking about DHL, and he just brushed up. He's like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll get stuff. You'll be fine. Don't even worry about it. You should have no problems. I'm like, okay. So, order from China, DHL. Look, I'm not going to tell you how to break the law, but if you wanted to break the law, it's not that difficult. I'm just going to skim the chat, see if there are any more questions that anybody had. It's a weird bummer time in the U.S. right now, but it's not. It's no reason to roll over and die. No reason to roll over and die. And adding.
I'm not going back to smoking.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
Back in smoking. Yeah. Bob Ohms Too Low in the chat says, I've done lots of illegal shit in my lifetime, and I never thought vaping would be one of them. What a crazy world we live in. I know. It's crazy that we have to fight for harm reduction products. That's a real interesting dynamic we have here in the United States. Coils are heating elements for your science projects. Yeah, absolutely. And I had that chat on the screen earlier that said he bought decorative wire from Amazon that was Kanthal wire for vaping. So I guess ultimately, I don't feel like this is the end of the world, but it certainly sucks, right? It certainly sucks. There's huge changes coming, but I don't think, it's not the death of vaping. It's not the end of vaping, because what we have to remember is at the end of the day, vaping will always work, and it's real easy to do. Wire, batteries, PG, you're good. You can vape, and it'll work. And so I still do believe that at the end of the day, vaping will win. I think it's just going to suck for a while in the United States. And I would encourage you to do a few things. Stock up on nicotine liquids. I don't know about storing liquids with flavorings in them or anything like that. I'm sure there's some information on ECF from that professor along those lines, but I'm not sure. Stock up, get a spare mod, stock up on some liquids. Support your local brick and mortar store as much as you can. And, I hear a lot of brick and mortars are so expensive. And I know brick and mortars do tend to be more expensive than online shipping or than online shopping. But I think it's important.
It's because they can't buy the quantity that online can buy, right? Because they don't get the traffic that so you guys have to understand they're not doing it to be dicks. They're doing it because they purchase in smaller quantities than Element Vape does, let's say, for example, because Element Vape gets, 100 bajillion orders a month, and your brick and mortar, maybe sees 20 people a day or whatever it is. Yeah. So they can't buy that quantity. So it's not, to screw with you. It's an economic thing. But the other thing is, guys, if you want to, and this is kind of a general thing, because brick and mortar shops may be, the best way for some people, at least, to potentially still get products. If you have a company, like Nick mentioned, like Jess Marie's Tips or Coil Turds Coils or M-Turk, if you like those products, go to your local brick and mortar, even if you've never been in there before, and say, hey, buddy, hey, chief, hi, boss, I'm going to be buying from you now because of this regulation, and it is what it is. Here's the stuff that I will consistently purchase from you if you carry my favorite XYZ coil, liquid, whatever it is, and encourage, that's how you can help support the businesses that you like to buy from, is by, talking to your local shops if they are available and saying, can you please carry this product? Because I will totes buy it from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Bring them business, tell them. If you're like, I like stacked tube mechs. Do you guys have any stacked tube mechs? No? Maybe you get some stacked tube mechs. Maybe we'll see bigger varieties in vape stores. Maybe we'll see, I know I'm a capitalist, but we should see the prices come down at some point too. And when vape stores are the only, they're not going to be the only game in town. They're going to be a bigger game in town. I would say support your local vape shop. That's my biggest. Support your local vape shop and do the CASAA calls to actions. We had a super chat here from Christian who said, technically Amazon is a private delivery service.
So there's a couple problems with that.
Yes.
First off, they do have their own trucks that come to your house.
Yeah,
but
that's all I get anymore.
By and large, Amazon. They still rely on USPS and UPS to do a lot of their deliveries. So problem there. Also, the other problem is Amazon is the OG of saying no vape products on our platform. So stuff's already outlawed on Amazon.
But you can still go on to Amazon and buy vape stuff.
I mean, I'm just telling you what company policy is.
Sure. But I'm looking here at Lightning Vapes on Amazon. And I can get 2 spools, 200 feet of 22 gauge Canthal tomorrow in my house. We'll check back on this after March 27th or after, whatever. But I still think you'll be able to get Tecmo resistance Canthal wire off of Amazon. You'll still be able to get batteries from IMR Batteries. You can get a flashlight from a number of manufacturers and get some nicotine, freeze it in your freezer. Look, it's not ideal and it sucks. And really, it sucks bad for us, but it sucks worse if you're a smoker right now. That's the worst position to be in the United States right now, is to be an adult smoker and wanting to quit and not even being able to trust organizations that you should trust, like American Lung and American Cancer, and they're telling you not to try vaping. And then Royal College of Physicians is telling people that they should start vaping if you're a smoker, and all this misinformation. And now, even if you wanted to try to switch, well, you can't get it in the mail. Probably can't, flavor bans in state and local places. I feel the worst for the smokers right now that have a desire to quit and are trying to get into the vape scene. And this is probably somebody's first day as a vapor today. And then in a week, they're going to not be able to get their vape gear anymore. And they're not even going to know why. And that, I think, is one of the most depressing things on earth. And that person probably, won't even think twice and just, oh shit, I can't get my vape anymore. Good thing I have,
good old cigarettes.
Good old cigarettes. Good old durries, as they call them down there in New Zealand. Good old durries. So
available within a mile of anyone almost.
Literally
the whole
everywhere. Yeah, on
I may be
literally
exaggerating
every
slightly,
corner.
but definitely I feel like a 20-mile radius, you could probably find a cigarette almost anywhere.
Yeah, I could walk. I could walk to get cigarettes in 5 different directions.
Too. Yeah. There's a 7-Eleven over there.
Yeah, 7-Eleven over there. I got Ralph's cigarettes. What about you, Alex? Where do you buy your cigarettes? I'm just kidding.
There's a convenience store up the street. I can't get it from CVS. I don't know if the Kinney Drugs sells them. The grocery store might. We got kind of an old grocery store in a strip mall across the way.
Yeah, they should still sell them.
They
might be behind glass.
I can walk to half a dozen stores that'll sell me cigarettes.
Yeah, it's incredible. How do you get vape stuff?
Well, it's so illegal that that's the tragedy here, right?
I live in New York, so vape mail has been banned here already. Flavors are banned. The vape shop downtown is still a vape shop, but he's had to retool everything that I haven't been in because all of this happened at the beginning of the pandemic, so I haven't actually done a lot of retail stuff. We had 3 or 4 shops here in Plattsburgh, I haven't been in any of them, but I can't imagine they're doing that great.
Yeah, well, and it's a bummer, and this is something I was talking to Chris about too, is now these vape shops, in order to even stay open, are having to pivot and carry tobacco glass water pipes and CBD products. And I know this is the dumbest part to be bummed out about, but then we're losing that vape shop, that classic American vape shop feel. It's just disappearing, and it's whatever. Maybe I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses, but I'm bummed out by that there's not going to be that vape shop vibe where you could go to a vape shop and talk to other vapors and taste liquids and try new devices and sit in their lounge and play Xbox or whatever. That's going away too, and that bums me out. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge bummer. I miss the vape shop, the dedicated vape shop, damn it. I agree, Logan Exhales, New York sucks. I saw someone in the chat had mentioned when's the last day. I would say if you just want to be safe this week, this is it. This is your last week. I would say stock up this week because you don't know what next week will even bring. Next week is the cutoff date, and it could be a few days after that that this actually goes into effect. So if you're right now sitting here watching TBN worried about if you should stock up or if you should make some extra orders, I would say, do it. Yeah, do it. Or if you're confident that you have a local vape shop, don't. And then frequent your local vape shop regularly so that they have like a regular customer so that they can continue converting smokers over to far, far less harmful vapor products. But that's what I would say. Listen, I hope we answered some of your questions here today. We had one more super chat here from M. Gray. That's right. When is the last date to order, M. Gray? Today, this week. Don't hesitate.
Do it soon, but the PACT Act deadline is not this Friday, but next Friday. The exact date is the 26th. So my guess is you will probably see online stores closing during the week next week. That would be my guess.
Next week.
If they are unable to comply with this, which I think most are not able to, they will probably be closing up next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what a nice note to end this stream on. Ian Thomas. Yeah, here's how we can end this stream. Have you seen the Yorkshire Cancer Research video, Vaping Demystified? Pretty awesome 30-minute documentary. It's the best 30 minutes all year that I've spent all year watching that Yorkshire Cancer Research Center video. I think it's incredible. I'll put a link down to it in the description. Everybody should watch it. Everybody should watch it and share it with anybody, politicians who are trying to pass anti-vaping legislation. But that's it. Here we are.
Can I give a quick plug for something?
Sure, yeah. Plug away, Alex. Plug it.
People may not have seen it, may not know much about the International Network of Nicotine Consumer Organizations. The short version is just INCO. Yeah. But today there's a huge release on pushing back against all of that stuff we were talking about with Bloomberg. And so I strongly recommend people check out that news release. You can find INCO on Twitter. Just look for INNCO.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of good information there, and certainly follow that if you're looking for the skinny and the dirt on Michael Bloomberg and his billions.
Yeah. Is INCO, can we help INCO take down Mike Bloomberg?
Probably.
Good.
I don't know.
Yes.
I think Mike Bloomberg is going to take down Mike Bloomberg. But
yeah. I can only hope so.
Nudge.
I can only hope so. But like, what is even, like, you can't just fine him. How do you fine a billionaire? Like, there has to be repercussions for Mike Bloomberg. There has to be some sort of punishment for Mike Bloomberg.
I mean,
how do you hold a
public shaming?
Public shaming. He'll just laugh on his pile of money. He goes, I have billions. I don't care.
I want a pile of money to laugh on. Just saying.
Know. Yeah.
I think, if anything, it's the potential reputational damage. And that so when other countries see Mikey Mike and his billions coming at their door, they just say, hey, no, sorry.
Yeah. Hey, we saw what you tried to do.
We're going to stick with what our actual residents want to get done.
Right. Take your colonialism and back the heck off.
Take your colonialism and your dark money and your... Mike Bloomberg is okay with a dictator executing smokers. I'm just going to put that out there. That is a fact. That's a fact. He's okay with it.
Gross fact.
It's a gross fact, but he's okay with it, obviously, or he wouldn't have acted the way that he acted. So, hey, Alex, thank you for coming on here and talking about the vape mail. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having
me. Absolutely. You guys can follow Alex Clark. He's on Twitter there. Hello, Alex. You get inundated with advocacy and CASAA and funny responses to tobacco controllers, and it's just good times over there on Twitter.
He is quite comical, you guys. If you're looking for a little chuckle, you should follow Alex. It's good stuff. It's
comedy on Twitter. Thanks. But you guys, this is certainly not the end. It's a speed bump. It's a roadblock. Remember that vaping is a global phenomenon now. It's too large and too successful to simply be swept under the rug, especially when we have large groups of dedicated advocates like yourselves here wanting to get informed, wanting to get out there and fight the good fight. Who said it in the chat? Squeaky grease gets the wheel. It takes less than 5 minutes to do a CASAA call to action. Just do it. Get on Twitter, tweet at people, get involved. It's really fun. It's honestly real frustrating, but it's also very, very, very satisfying. Very satisfying. At the end of the day, I go, yes, I sent out a lot of angry tweets today.
Yeah.
And I feel satisfied by that. So let me just make sure there's no more super chats that popped in there. Vaping Demystified, that will be down in the description. So, all right, you guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming out one more time. Thank you to Alex. Thank you again, Danielle Jones, for being my far left fact checker. And it's far, far from the end. Far, far from the end. We keep fighting. We keep climbing up shit mountain because, listen, they can't run from the science forever. We know what happens in countries that embrace vaping, and we know what happens in countries that try to prohibit and deny vaping. And it's inevitable, in my opinion, that vaping will win. It's just going to suck for a little bit in the United States. But please remember, you guys, no matter what anybody tells you, especially Mike Bloomberg and his stupid Muppet face.
Yeah, vaping, Muppet face.
He has a straight up Muppet face, and I can't stand looking at it.
That's my impersonation of Mike Bloomberg.
So no matter what Mike Bloomberg tells you, remember, vaping is at least 95% less harmful for you than burning those deadly combustible tobacco cigarettes. So yeah, you guys, no matter what's in your hand, let's keep on vaping. Be excellent to each other, everybody. Peace out.